video talking about this time we're talking about the potential specs in the PlayStation 5. Alright? Now, I'm going to be talking about them, and Nate, my friend Nate here, is probably going to be confused as to what I'm talking about, so I want him encouraged to ask me what certain things mean, and I'll try to explain certain things as best as I can. Because as of late, I've been doing a lot of research into a lot of official info released by AMD as of Computex, and a lot of supposed leaks as well. And basically, what I'm looking at is that the leap on the GPU may be bigger than I originally thought, but still, say, smaller than the CPU leak. Because looking at various supposed leaks, right, we're looking at a few things. Some people are saying that the dev kits are performing at around 12.9 teraflops, right? And people think that's insane because the old GCN architecture allows for a limit of 64 compute units, right? And that would mean we'd have to raise the clock speed higher. Well, come to find out, thanks to AMD, we now know that the old GCN architecture is out, and we're having a new compute unit redesign in the form of RDNA, Radeon DNA. This is a big deal because this allows for a lot of new optimizations. According to official info, we have an instruction per clock redesign, streaming processor redesign. The layout for it is being redesigned, and we're having like 25% performance increase per clock and 50% instructions per clock increase per watt. Instructions per watt increase. This is a big deal. But when they say that, when they said that the compute units were redesigned, this falls in place with earlier leaks that just came out about how these compute units were redesigned, which is a huge deal. Basically, in these new compute units, we're now going from a 4x16 layout of streaming processors to a new 2x32 layout, which is a big deal because more leaks also suggest that this allows for, combined with the new 7nm process, an up to 60% increase in logic in the same die space over older chips. At the same time, this also the supposed leaks also suggest a 32 wave instruction set, which is a big deal because in old GCN you can only do one wave of instructions per clock per compute unit, right? But these new, and that allowed for basically 4 instructions per clock per compute unit, and they were single way, one way. What the leaks are just suggesting now is that in these new compute units, these are 2-way 32 wave instructions. That means we could potentially now have a full simultaneous 64 instructions per clock per compute unit. So basically, this is a huge deal in efficiency because you can get more done and you can get a lot more performance out of your chip. At the same time, the leaks also, well, not at the same time, but plus, the leaks also suggest a doubling of shader engines. Now this is huge, because for the entirety of GCN, right, we've always had 4 shader engines. And that really was a hurting factor against Nvidia's cause, because now Nvidia has fucking the capabilities of doing like maybe up to maybe 11 or more shaders per clock. Now this is a big deal because in Nvidia's in the AMD shader engines, they also have a geometry unit. That means in the old GCN architecture, you can only do 4 primitives per clock. This was a big deal because let me explain what a primitive is. Primitive is basically a polygon, a meshing together of vertices, sides, and faces, all put all together to make either a triangle or quadrilateral, or quad for short. If it's true that we now have 8 shader engines, we're now capable of doubling the polygon count per clock. Take the PS4's GPU for example, 800 megahertz. It used to put out a theoretical maximum of 3.2 polygons per 3.2 billion with a B polygons per second. Now, that was a big deal, but the problem is AMD had a difficult time trying to move up that geometry scale for the past 7 years. But now with RDNA, if it's true that we have double the geometry, that's a big deal. Now, based on everything put together, right, this is my wild speculation. This is only a speculation. This does not guarantee I'm right at all. This is just a guess, based on the research I put with the official info leak, plus all the official info that was made public, plus all the supposed leaks. But I'm guessing that in the PS5's Navi, we're going to have 80 compute units at a clock speed of 1.26 gigahertz to give us a performance of 12.9 teraflops. This will also give us a theoretical maximum of over 10 billion polygons per second.
It would have been better if you said don't over 9,000.
This is a huge deal. If true. I can never guarantee if any of this is anyway fact, because this claim, like I said, this is all speculation and wild guessing. But if true, that could lead to a huge, we're talking about maybe a 6 to 7 times leap from the PS4 Pro's GPU. Maybe even more.
That's actually a bigger leap than the PS2 to the Wii.
No, it's not.
PS2 to the Wii?
Yes.
PS2 to the Wii? Wait. Did you just say PS2 to the Wii? I thought you said PS2 to the PS3. Whoa, whoa, whoa,
No,
that
Wii
just
was
took
as
me
strong
off
as the
guard.
GameCube. What are you talking
Jesus
about,
Christ, man. Jesus Christ, man.
The PS2 to the Wii, not to the PS3.
What the fuck's wrong with
you?
you?
You realize the Wii was as strong as the GameCube, right?
That's just, I get it. It's a joke. It's a joke. Oh dear God. That just took me completely off guard. Fuck you, man. This kind of performance on a console could lead us to nearing the levels of early 2000s or late 90s CG quality visuals.
I hear the footsteps of the PC Master Race coming in.
Now hold it
You're
right
late to the
there.
party.
Nope, hold it right there. Come on, let's be fair. PC guys get this first. July 7th is the launch date for Navi and Ryzen. They get to have all this good stuff first.
Oh yeah, they always do. But you know damn well they'll be shoving it in the console owners' throats.
Which leads me to another speculation. The PS5 CPU. I'm looking at all these contenders that could possibly be. I'm looking at the Ryzen 7 3700X. That could be the closest we could have to the PS5 CPU because of the watt output. I mean, an amazingly low 65 watts. That's amazing for a console. That would be amazing for a console. Just thinking about these, this is basically a huge, it's in some ways a bigger, it's a bigger leap. It is definitely a bigger leap than from the PS3 to the PS4.
Yeah, it's almost the work of PS4 with the downgrade.
If all of this becomes true, this is a bigger leap from than from the PS3 to the PS4, and that makes me very satisfied. And I'm actually, you know, this would be shoot. And I'm just talking about from the base PS4 to the PS5. Even from the PS4 Pro to the PS5, that would still be a bigger leap from the PS3 to the base PS4.
Which that wasn't that big of a leap at all. in my opinion.
I know. And that's still not taking into consideration the possible hardware they're going to be utilizing for ray tracing. Now, when you take all this in, now, we're going to have to be realistic here. We know that Microsoft is going to be coming up with similar hardware for their next Xbox, which is currently rumored. Nah.
I'm not joking at all. I have a feeling that's true.
That would make some really sad sense. That would make some really sad sense. But all in all, yeah. All in all, I really hope this comes to fruition, and I really hope these are the kind of specs that we get for a potentially $500 console, because that would be very satisfactory to someone like me. Oh. You go.
My question is, because I asked you earlier, and I'm really curious on what kind of gaming in gaming worlds that we might be seeing.
Well, we're obviously going to be seeing bigger worlds, but I think we're gonna be more dedicated to fine-tuning the smaller details. You know, rounder edges, higher res textures.
Right. Stuff I don't get too shit about.
You're, like I said, you're better off just getting a PC because you can't guarantee a possible 60 frames per second until, even with enough nagging. Basically, it's in the end, it's still going to be up to the developers. That's always how it is. And when it comes to fixed hardware, developers are most likely going to be focused on maxing out the capabilities of what the box can do.
And I know it wasn't too much this generation to the developer extent, but I do feel that Polyphony Digital would be pushing these new boundaries to its full potential.
Well, ever since they leaked that Gran Turismo video demonstrating their new ray tracing technology in real time, yeah, that's going to be a big deal.
But my God, this could be a close
Oh, damn.
for another game that's actually going to have a sequel.
Yeah. Peter Connell, what do you think the max amount of RAM will be? 16, 24, or 32? The optimist in me obviously wants 32, but I'm thinking that because looking at the leaked dev kit set, we're looking at possible 24 gigs of RAM, of GDDR6 RAM, with an additional 4 gigabytes of regular DDR4 RAM dedicated just for the operating system, which would be super smart.
Speaking of operating system, what kind of changes would you expect to see with this extra?
Gets insight. Now say that again, Nate.
I said,
Yeah.
I said, speaking of operating.
I'm sorry, say that again.
1 second.
Can't get a break. Keep getting interrupted. Well, that's an interesting way to put it, because regular DDR4 RAM could be better used for the operating system, because gaming RAM like GDDR6, it has a latency problem when it comes to general purpose tasks like menu access and app activation and switching. So using regular RAM for that would be a better idea. Plus, with all that,
be more responsive.
yes, but at the same time, we could finally use all the gaming RAM for the gaming. Finally, we can use all the gaming RAM for the gaming. It wouldn't be like the PS3 or the PS4 all over again. We could finally use all 24 gigs.
Which that would be actually impressive, by the way.
Yeah, because last gen having to use... only having access to a maximum of around maybe 6 gigs of RAM. And that's including the virtual and page RAM. That was a joke. That was a huge joke. And that's on the PS4 Pro when they got an additional 512 megs levied to it. And all physical.
They still did a good job with a lot of the games with such a limitation, so to speak. You know, but more is always better, regardless.
Yeah. But at the same time, we're looking at... I'm just disappointed that we can't have the same kind of leap in RAM that we used to have, because that's an unfortunate reality. RAM development has slowed down drastically. I mean, if we were to have the same kind of leap that we should have had going from PlayStation to PlayStation, we should have had a 16 times leap. We should have had around 128 gigs of RAM by now. But somewhere along the way, Moore's Law just dropped dead.
I think the biggest thing that happened that slowed it down was because of the recession.
I don't know about that, because the industry just kept getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, the industry did, but not so much as tech development. I mean, I don't think. I mean, I could be wrong.
Because every home PlayStation had around an 8 times leap in RAM amount. I mean, we went from 2 megabytes with additional 1 megabyte of VRAM on the PS1 to like 32 megabytes to a total of 512 megabytes to 8 gigs. We should have had 128 gigs by now, but instead we got this. We got this potential discussion, and I think it's sad.
But then again, would you? I know that you would. Everybody would definitely want 120 plus, almost 130 gigs of RAM. However, what would that do to cost? Would be the big question there.
Well, that's the problem. Right now, it would probably be too expensive. And considering that we're looking at the PS5, a possible base PS5 being $500 as is, with them having to possibly have to take a loss this time because of how new this tech is, especially from an AMD standpoint.
Yeah. Well, they definitely don't want to repeat the PS3 on the losses.
Yeah, but they took a big risk there.
I mean, of course. I mean, toward the end of the PS3, they did recover, but not without sacrifice due to cutting around corners as far as features go.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they're trying to prevent. Is try to make it right coming out of the gate instead of re-visualizing it just to cut costs.
Yeah. Oh well.
But I have no. But I at the same time I really have no problem with a slimmer model going down the road. Because as far as I know, every PlayStation had a slim version towards middle to end of life cycle. So.
Yeah. But I would be really satisfied with the specs that I'm guessing we could have. Plus the CPU, I'd be okay with it being 3.2 gigahertz. That would give us an astonishing over 800 plus gigaflops total.
Now, and another question, I think I asked you this before, and I'm just going to ask this for the audience. or the potential audience anyway that might be this. They potentially overclock it.
Well, I mean, if they want to water cool it or vapor cool it, however you want to call it, which would be probably a big reason why it might be potentially $500. They could probably do it to the base clocks of the. They could probably clock it, push it to the base clocks of the Ryzen 7 3700X, which is like 3.6 gigahertz, which also has a boost clock of up to 4.4 gigahertz. My God, that would be insane though, because if we could have that kind of CPU at 4.4 gigahertz while water cooled, we're looking at over 1.1 teraflops in a CPU.
I mean, so what would actually do to make it overclock? Would it be the type of games, or would it be the operating system? What?
It'd be multiple factors.
Software at all?
It would be multiple factors. It's always going to be software when it comes to boosting a clock speed.
Can you imagine how hot that fucking thing would?
That's why we're talking about the possibility of water cooling or vapor cooling in the console.
Well, even still, the potential heat coming off of it's got to be ridiculous.
Yeah, just combine it with a fan and make it cooler. It'll make the machine bigger, but we have a cooler machine that's more powerful, and it's a console. I mean, if Microsoft can get away with a $500 console because of the water cooling, why can't Sony?
Well, their tagline at E3 was the next water cooler.
Aw, fuck you. The next water cooler discussion. Aw, shame on you. My goodness, it's been almost 30 minutes since we've been having this conversation. Wanna wrap it up?
Yes, let's wrap it up. Can it do 60 frames?
No, it will never happen. You're done.
Do I want to wrap it up? No, sorry, I don't use condoms.
Fuck you. Oh well. Yeah, I think it's time to wrap it up. Thanks Nate. Thanks Devil for having this conversation with me. I will leave you guys alone, and I'll let everybody that's watching to think for themselves about what the PS5 is going to bring us.
Thank God that the politicians are pushing this bill to get away from this loot-box shit and microtransactions, because that really ruined, in my opinion, that really ruined this generation with shady fucking monetization tactics. I want to see. I feel like a fucking boxing referee or something saying this.
Yeah.
I really want to see a clean generation next year. I really do. With good games.
I agree.
Instead of being picky, choosy, trying to get away from all the freaking monetization bullshit on what games I have to pick up. I just want to be like, actually find like the PS3 had tons of gems on it. you know, you go to your local game store, whether it be GameStop or EB, depending on where you live, you know, whatever, Walmart, wherever you get your games from, right? And you see like obscure game, you be like, okay, I want to try that. Does it want to be good? You know, I don't want to worry about whether this game has monetization schemes built into it. I just want good games without bullshit.
You're never getting that. You're screwed. Well. But thanks Nate. I think it's time to wrap it up. Everybody that's watching this, I want you guys to think for yourselves. Join in on the speculation. Think for yourselves of what the PS5 is going to bring. I think we're in for a good time. So, until then, guys, so long.